All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus Show. I am Lupagus. We are joined by your Minnesota Golden Gophers quarterback, Max Brosmer, draft prospect. Max, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Heck yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us and give us an insight to your journey to the NFL draft. I want to start with the East West Shrine Bowl. How was your experience down there? What was it like playing with some of the best in the nation?
It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a cool learning experience, for all of us from a lot of different teams in the country. Coming together for a week to, learn an entire new playbook, create bonds where, we can, translate from what we learn in meetings to practice to the actual game. It's just the same thing as a week of preparation for a game. You get the same page with your wideouts, your O line, your running backs, your tight ends, and then you put it together on the field. And I thought throughout the week, the entire team, the entire offense, the defense, special teams unit did a really good job of learning the playbook pretty efficiently. And then you actually add in the piece where you're doing interviews and you're doing meetings, where it creates a pretty busy schedule, but it's a good busy, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, weren't you named Practice Player of the Week?
I was, yeah, for my side of the ball, I was.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, those practices. So that's an amazing thing to get there. Did you meet with a lot of teams, and did any show more interest than others?
Met with a ton of teams. It was definitely, I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I think I met with most of the teams. Maybe a couple didn't meet with some of them, but most of them I did. And they were pretty kind of introductory, but you start to realize as you kind of get more into it, you kind of get to the nitty gritty with the scouts. And the best you can do is be yourself and be vulnerable and let them know who they're talking to, who they're getting. And that's my biggest thing is letting people know who I am. And ultimately, I think the team where I end up is where I'm supposed to be, and it's going to be for a reason. And so, specifically teams, I would say I couldn't give you an exact team. I keep hearing that the team that you go to sometimes is actually the team you don't talk to at all, or maybe once. And so I've found that the more you look into it, probably the least you know. And I'm just kind of taking it one day at a time and, trying to learn as much as I can along the way.
Nice. So you transferred from New Hampshire to Minnesota. What went into that decision to do that, and was it the right decision for you?
Yeah, I didn't really want to leave New Hampshire. It was a school and a place that I created a home at, and I went to New Hampshire for the people. The football program was historically a really good, talented football program. 14 seasons in a row, going to the FCS playoffs, which is really hard to do. And I went there. It was I had limited options coming out of high school in New Hampshire, which is a spot that became home pretty quickly. And when I got to my last year there, I created relationships that I didn't want to end, and I didn't necessarily want to not play with my last year. And I kind of got to a spot where I was feeling like I was getting comfortable. You do your best to kind of reverse track from your end goal, which is to have a long, successful career in the NFL, whatever that looks like for you. And then you create benchmarks along the way. And New Hampshire, allowed me to grow in different ways that I didn't know I needed to grow in, but I felt like I was getting comfortable and wasn't actually challenging myself to attack that next level. And with the full support of my coaches and my teammates, entered the portal, and Minnesota came in pretty quickly. And it was crazy, the similarity between the people at New Hampshire and Minnesota. Like I visited there within a couple weeks, and the people that I met there, the team leaders, the captains, where I'm like, these are my people. Like it was cool just seeing the connection between the two types of people. And obviously hear about what Coach Fleck has done in his career, and how he runs his program, where it's a life program. It's not just football, it's a life program, and that's truly how it's run there. And that's why I went to Minnesota.
Nice. And you mentioned Coach Fleck. What's it like playing for a high energy coach like PJ Fleck?
It's a lot of fun. I would say the first thing, the reason I think I gravitated towards him, number one was his passion for football, and his passion for coaching people, and not just coaching football, but coaching people in a way that promotes, growth and success down the line, not just in football. I love how he's very structured. I'm very structured as well. So it was a really easy transition for me. And on a daily basis, there's new things that he challenges you on. again, not just as a football player, as a quarterback, but also as a person. And that's what I loved about it. There was never a day in the facility where it was kind of just stagnant. It was like, you don't have anything to do today. It's like, how can I grow the next step? How can I change the way I'm thinking? How can I, lead better? And I had constant meetings with him on how I could do these things better than I was doing. And he provided perspective and insight in ways that I didn't really understand until now. And I think those are things that I'll be carrying for the rest of my life in football, but also outside of football as well.
That's awesome. So you played in the Big Ten. You're facing some top-notch defensive talent every single week. Who are some of the defenders that you faced that are like, oh my God, this guy is so good?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Abdul Carter from Penn State, along with Jalen Reed from Penn State, two really, really good football players. And you got to talk about the Michigan D-line, Mason Graham, Kenneth Walker. These people, you kind of grow up, I grew up an Ohio State fan. And so I was watching, top-notch talent from when I was a kid, but I'm like, it was my dream to go play Ohio State football. And then it kind of got put in the back burner a little bit. I got to the Big Ten later in my career. And then I'm playing these people that I kind of grew up watching. And at the time, I'm like, am I good enough to be here? And you learn kind of throughout, your preparation that, oh my God, you're 100% meant to be here. And then you realize you're facing first round draft picks every single week. And that's just part of the game. And that's the fun challenge about playing in the Big Ten. Any of the Power Four conferences that you're playing top-notch talent every single week. And you learn a lot about your team, about yourself when you're playing really talented individuals like that. And that's what made it, fun to play in the Big Ten.
Awesome. So draft analyst Ryan Roberts recently tweeted about you. He said, processing accuracy and toughness in the pocket create a tremendous baseline. Good player, feels like a backup for a very long time. So obviously the dream for you is to be a starter. But is that something you think about? And maybe your agent talk about, there's a lot of money in being a long-time backup quarterback in the NFL. Chase Daniel made just a killing doing that, and I think Gardner Minshew's on the same path. So is that something that you think about too? Like, hey, if I'm not a starter, at least I can stick in the league for a long time and make some money?
Yeah, I think for a lot of those scenarios, for those quarterbacks, there's a constant chase for, number one, being the best player and person that you can be, and also challenging, the starter in that sense. And in that way, you're also pushing yourself to become the starter at some point. I would argue that Chase Daniel didn't, I'm like, I want to be a backup my entire career. I would argue he didn't think about that, but I'm not really sure when you actually talk to him. But I would argue he's trying to become the starter on a weekly basis. And that's making yourself better. It's making the actual starter better. And it's also making the team better. And I think the big piece of that is knowing your role. And in the NFL, that's how you stay on the active roster or in the NFL for a long time, is knowing your role. Whether it's the starter or you're competing with a starter or competing for a backup spot, the NFL is a lot different than college and high school. It's a truly business run model where it's success on the field, translates to how long you're in the NFL for. And for me going in, it's going to be learning my role and competing to be the best player that I can be, and also competing to push my team the best that I can push them.
Awesome. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell has been considered to be the quarterback whisperer. You see what he did with Sam Darnold. I want to get your take on that. Is it true one coach can be that? One coach can unlock your potential? Do you believe into that? KLC could be a quarterback whisperer. Is that just maybe a lot of the player goes in that as well?
I think a lot of it's timing with some quarterbacks. I think with Darnold specifically, for some reason his timing was later in his career, and he got into a spot where the timing was great with his team. The timing was great with the staff he was with. Maybe he meshed better with some people on the staff at the Vikings better. And maybe it was just kind of KOC was his person at the time. And I think, you kind of get lucky at sometimes, finding the people that you mesh with the best and push you the most. And that's not to knock other coaches. It's just a matter of who you blend with the best. There's people that you don't blend with, and that's just kind of how it is. And I've gotten lucky throughout my career. I've had amazing coaches that you learn to blend with. And when I got to Minnesota, I was like, I was kind of hesitant. Am I going to blend with this staff? I knew what they kind of did with their team. And it took me a couple of months to really, blend in with the team and the staff. And that's just kind of how it works. That's what football is all about, is learning how to, blend in with the team and the staff to promote success within your team. And with Darnold's case, he got lucky with the timing. And I would argue his work ethic didn't change his whole career. He was probably working the exact same. You kind of change maybe the ways you work, but the work ethic's put in the same way. And he got put into a good scenario.
Great answer. Great answer. So you had kind of a unique career path. If you, after your playing days are over with what you graduated at college, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I graduated from New Hampshire with a degree in biomedical science. Football was always my number one goal. But I had a passion. I still have a passion for medicine as well. My mom's kind of side of the family, they were around the hospital their entire lives. Both my mom and my mom's mom are nurses. And I got to kind of see that growing up. I always thought it was really cool the connection between being, a surgeon or a doctor in the OR, and the translation between that and playing quarterback, because you're part of a team in a different way. And so that's pretty cool. And, football's, again, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But if, something comes up where that's not something that I can do, then I'll, retreat and, kind of fall back into the medicine piece and kind of retrace, I guess, back into what my degree was about.
I think during the broadcast of the East-West Shrine, they showed you full on medical gown looking into some
Oh, did
microscope.
they?
Like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was part of I was in a master's program at New Hampshire in exercise science kinesiology. And I got to be a part of some research articles and journals where I got to actually be the one conducting the research in a published article. It's pretty cool.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, you rocked that lab coat just as well as you rocked that Gophers uni. So well done on that. All right. Final here. Again, thank you so much for coming on, Max. Really appreciate it. You got invited to the combine. Congrats on that. So what's your schedule looking like as you prepare for the combine, your pro day, and ultimately the draft?
Yeah, it's busy, but again, it's a good busy. I think this these few months in between the end of the year season and draft day are very, very scheduled, and they're very, very busy, and it's for a good reason. I think it's been 6 days a week for me, whether it's strength training, speed training, on the field stuff with Quincy, my quarterback coach, in the film or on the board work. There's a ton that goes into it, and it's all very regimented, which is great. I like to know what exactly I'm getting done, and what stuff I need to work on. And I think that the preparation that's being put into me has been pretty great, with knowing exactly what I have to get better at. And so for the combine, you kind of have these different little benchmarks. I had the Shrine Bowl, now I have the combine, and then pro day in middle of March, and you work to make sure that you're excelling at the little things to the best of your effort before you hit these little benchmarks. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to compete at the Shrine Bowl, but also the combine and my pro day. And I'm very, very fortunate for that. And I know that a lot of people would like to be in my position. And you grow up watching the combine. The quarterbacks throwing on at the combine, and you get to be one of them now. I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. I'm extremely grateful, and it's just the next step for me.
Is there a part that's stressing you a little bit more than others when it comes to the combine?
Stressful? No, I think there's a anticipation that's excitement, and being on the field with some of the best players in the entire country, and understanding that, number one, that you're there for a reason as well. Like you are in that group for a reason, and I truly believe that. And it's the anticipation and the excitement for me. I can't wait to sit down with coaches and GMs. I can't wait to go compete in the field with quarterbacks from around the country as well. And I think it's going to be an amazing week of competition.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks again, Max, for hopping on. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to watching your career unfold, and we'll be rooting for you whether you're in purple or not.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, man.